The iPhone 15 series is finally here, and it turns out most of the rumors were true. USB-C? Check. An action button? Check. An ultra-powerful chipset that enables console-quality gaming on a smartphone? Well, maybe that wasn't one of the rumors. As was expected, there are 4 iPhone 15 models on offer here, including 2 standard iPhone 15 models and 2 iPhone 15 Pros. There are some differences between the 2 non-Pro models and the 2 Pro models. However, the bulk of the differences lie in the differences between the non-Pro and Pro. Curious about what the differences between the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro devices really are? I have a standard iPhone 15 and an iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I've been using them for a while now. Here are my thoughts on all the new iPhones. If this video is helpful to you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support my work, and I'd appreciate that support. First up, it's worth taking a look at the design, and while Apple has kept most of the design elements between the 2 phones the same, there are some key differences. All 4 of the iPhone 15 models have the flat-edge design that Apple has adopted since the iPhone 12 series. However, all 4 also have a slightly more rounded corners that help make the phones more comfortable to hold in the hand. Indeed, I found that it did help. The phones felt much softer. Of course, when looking at the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro, you'll notice a few differences. The most obvious of these is probably the fact that the Pro models now come in titanium. According to Apple, this allows the Pro phones to be lighter and more durable, and I quite like the change. The phone is indeed lighter than the last generation, and it looks and feels great. I don't usually care that much about changes in materials, but I really like the look and feel of the iPhone 15 Pro models. On the back, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max have an extra camera, which is where the telephoto camera lives. But take a look at the left side of the phone, and you'll notice another difference, new for this series of devices. As rumors suggested, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max have the new Action button, which is a programmable button that replaces the ringer switch. I'm a huge fan of this change. If you're anything like me, you probably just keep your phone on silent all the time, rendering the ringer switch kind of useless. The Action button allows you to trigger things like the camera, do not disturb mode, or even a Siri shortcut, which makes it super versatile. I've tried a few different uses for this button, but right now I've landed on using it to trigger a shortcut that helps me log how much water I drink. I don't drink enough water, so I've been logging it, and while swiping over to the shortcut from my home screen is pretty simple, using the Action button makes things that extra bit more simple. Side note, the interface for setting up the Action button is pretty cool and totally un-Apple-like. You can swipe through the Action button settings in this sweet graphical view, something that's unique in Apple's settings. I hope Apple experiments with boring old interface designs a little more in the future. I do wish that the Action button could perform different functions for things like double pressing though. Unfortunately, for now, there's only one action, holding the button down. Now, considering I love the Action button so much, I really wish Apple adopted it on both the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro. A button doesn't necessarily scream Pro. It's a helpful upgrade, but there's no reason it should be reserved for power users. I'm sure Apple will bring it down to the standard iPhone in the next generation though. For now, however, if you want the Action button, you're stuck buying the iPhone 15 Pro. Moving on from the left side of the phone to the bottom, and there's another notable change. Both the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro have a USB-C port. That's right, it has finally happened. Whether it's because of pressure from the EU or Apple coming to its senses, the iPhone 15 has USB-C. But while the ports look the same, and for most users they will act the same, there is one key difference. The iPhone 15's USB-C port runs at USB 2.0 speeds, while the iPhone 15 Pro's runs at USB 3.0. This enables features like the ability to film ProRes videos straight to an external drive, a feature that I don't really think many people will use, but is helpful for those who will. Another key difference between the phones, of course, is the colors that they come in. Over the past few years, the standard iPhone models have been available in fun, bright colors, and that remains true here. The iPhone 15 and 15 Plus come in blue, pink, yellow, green, and black. All except the black model being a nice pastel. I have the pink iPhone 15 here, and it's pretty nice. It's not as bright as some other pink devices, but I quite like it. The Pro models come in more muted colors. They come in natural titanium, blue titanium, white titanium, and black titanium. They also look pretty good, and the natural titanium that my iPhone 15 Pro Max comes in is indeed quite nice. The displays on the phones are a little different too, though slightly less different than last year. For the iPhone 15 series, Apple is bringing the Dynamic Island to the standard iPhone 15 models, which is great news. I actually love the Dynamic Island on the iPhone 14 Pro devices, and I'm glad it's coming to all iPhone 15s. On the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, you'll get a 6.1 and 6.7-inch display, respectively, and a pixel density of about 460 pixels per inch. The screens offer a peak brightness of 2000 nits and a refresh rate of 60 Hz. Despite the lower refresh rate, the screens look great. They're vibrant and bright, and they're OLED screens, meaning that there's a good level of contrast and deep black levels. Of course, as expected, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max step things up a little. They also have 6.1 and 6.7 inch screen sizes, and a pixel density of about 460 pixels per inch. However, the Pro models get 120Hz refresh rate, meaning that animations and scrolling will look and feel a whole lot smoother on the non-Pro devices. Not only that, but the Pro models also have an always-on display, which can be color or non-color. I have it set to black and white. The always-on display is quite helpful. It allows you to see information at a glance without having to actually reach for your phone. To be clear, you're not getting a bad display experience with the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus. On the contrary, their screens look excellent, but you are getting a better screen experience with the always-on functionality and the higher refresh rate on the Pro models. Under the hood, the differences extend a little. Over the past few years, Apple has been including last year's flagship chip on the non-Pro iPhones, and that remains true here. The iPhone 15 and 15 Plus offer Apple's A16 Bionic chip, the same chip that was found in the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. The iPhone 15 Pro, however, has Apple's new A17 Pro chip, the latest and greatest from Apple and the first to be built on TSMC's 3nm process. The result? Well, the iPhone 15 performs very well, but the 15 Pro takes things to the next level in a big way. In day-to-day use, you won't really notice a difference. The iPhone 15 and 15 Pro devices still handle multitasking with ease, load apps in nanoseconds, and so on. But the A17 Pro chip's performance is highlighted by console-quality games. Death Stranding and Assassin's Creed Mirage are coming to the iPhone. It's hard to understate how huge of a deal this is. Console-quality games have always offered a level of quality that smartphones just couldn't match, but this could be the beginning of the end of that. If developers truly take advantage of this, the console market and devices like the Nintendo Switch have a very interesting future. I already love playing games on an iPhone with the Backbone One controller, and these kinds of games make that experience even better. Benchmark results also confirmed how great the iPhone 15 Pro devices performed compared with the standard iPhone 15. The iPhone 15 Pro Max scored 2949 in Geekbench 6's single-core score and 7390 in its multi-core score. These are absolutely huge scores and show that the iPhone 15 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max are far and away the best performing phones ever made. The standard iPhone 15 scores are still very respectable 2496 in single-core and 5370 in multi-core tests. These are great scores again and beat every Android phone out there right now, but they don't hold a candle to the iPhone 15 Pro. Now, battery life is a little tricky to compare here, given the fact that I have the standard iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But I will say that in general, I found battery life on these devices to be fine. The iPhone 15 obviously has a smaller battery, but it also has to power a smaller display. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has a larger display and a larger battery. At the end of a busy day, I found that I had around 30 to 40% left on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, while on the iPhone 15, I generally had closer to 20 or 30%. Take that subjective experience for what you will. Unfortunately, the charging experience on the iPhone 15 devices could be a little better. Now, of course, it could also be a whole lot worse. All iPhone 15 models support MagSafe charging at an impressive 15 watts, and they can all reverse charge through the USB-C port, and charge through USB-C in the first place. But the wired charging speeds are a little slow, at 27 watts. Some Android phones these days can charge at over 200 watts. Still, most won't really mind the slower charging speeds in day-to-day life, and I'm glad that you can finally charge through USB-C. That's not to mention the fact that I normally charge through MagSafe anyway. Onto the camera, and the iPhone has always emphasized camera quality. Apple has improved the camera quality for both the standard and the Pro iPhone 15s. On the standard iPhone 15 models, you'll still get a dual camera system with a 48 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. This year, Apple is using the higher resolution main camera to make for much more detailed images, which are now outputted at 24 megapixels instead of 12 megapixels. And the higher resolution main camera allows Apple to zoom to 2x without actually applying digital zoom, simply cropping the pixels to make for what appears to be a zoomed shot. Of course, the camera experience is still much better on the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. The Pro and Pro Max both have triple camera systems, which are made up of a 48 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and a 12 megapixel telephoto camera. These phones also offer 24 megapixel outputs on the main camera. On the iPhone 15 Pro, the telephoto camera maxes out to 3x optical zoom. However, for this year, the 15 Pro Max hits an impressive 5x. I'm glad that Apple is finally including better zoom on the iPhone telephoto camera. However, I do wish that the new telephoto camera was also available on the iPhone 15 Pro, not just the Pro Max. I find it better when customers can make decisions based on the size of the phone, not the features. In general, both phones can capture excellently detailed images with bright, vibrant colors. As you would expect, at further zoom levels, the iPhone 15 Pro Max does offer more detailed images. However, in other situations, the images are ultimately pretty similar. The iPhone 15 Pro Max's camera is more versatile, but both phones offer a great quality camera overall. So, which of the phones should you buy? Well, it's kind of hard to answer that question. Obviously, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are better phones, but they're also a whole lot more expensive. So let's quickly summarize the differences. The iPhone 15 Pro adds a USB-C port at 3.0 speeds instead of 2.0, and it gets the new action button. Not only that, but they also have a higher refresh rate on the display, a much better processor, and a more versatile camera. If those features are important to you, then it may be worth going for the iPhone 15 Pro instead of the standard iPhone 15. But if none of them jump out to you as essential, go for the iPhone 15. It's not just good enough in categories like performance and camera, it excels and outperforms against much of the other competition. Check out the links in the description to get the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and 15 Pro Max for yourself. Thanks again for watching, and again, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, especially if you want to be alerted to more iPhone 15 comparisons that I'll be doing in the near future. My name is Christian, and I'll see you next time. See ya.